Steph.
And I'm Joel.
And welcome to Framed.
Canvas Cuffs.
And Other Stuffs.
Season 2, baby.
Woo!
We're back. Can you believe it?
Bolé à deux.
Bolé à deux. Enjoy the episode.
Hello, Joel.
Oh, hello. Didn't know we were actually starting. Woohoo.
Woo!
Woo. How are we?
Yeah, we're good. How are ya?
Yes, so good. How are you?
Good.
That's
What's
good.
been going on?
Been busy. We booked a flight to Japan this week. So we're going to go to Japan in October, which we're super excited for. And we need all your recommendations on where to go. Listeners, if you've got recommendations on...
Send them in.
Yeah, send me somewhere weird. I want to go weird. I want to go quirky. I want like the full like depths of Japan experience.
What are your, it's like, what is the weirdest place you can go to?
I want to go there. Good weird though, not like a bar where I have to like spank a waitress dressed
I like
as
how
a
yours is like spank a waitress. That's too weird, and I'm like cut off a finger.
cut off a finger from the Yakuza. Oh, I don't want to talk about the Yakuza. It's scary.
Yakuza, we appreciate you.
You know how we were talking about the mafia in the last episode?
Yeah.
The Yakuza's the mafia as well, and they scare me so much.
I think the Yakuza could be more dangerous than
100%.
I think they're a little bit more.
I'm actually too terrified to talk about the Yakuza. We love the Yakuza.
I remember one day I was traveling. I think this is when I was doing my host stay, I think, in Japan. Oh, I was younger. And I saw a guy on the train in Japan and he had tattoos on his hands. He was an older guy. Like I'm talking, he probably was 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
And he had like a few rings on his fingers. And then I saw like a couple of his fingers were missing. And I went, oh no.
I've got tattoos. Are people going to think I'm in the Yakuza?
You're also very white. So.
Well.
I feel like.
Maybe I'm the one white guy.
Cooking the food.
Yeah, cooking for my boys.
For the boys.
For my boys. Look how dark it's getting. Ooh. Melbourne's getting chilly.
Put on your sweaters.
Yes.
Get toasty while you watch this.
How have you been?
Yeah, good.
Busy girl.
Always busy. But getting through life.
With your sevens and your whatnots and your who dids and your...
Well, you know what? Making waves. I've seen no one. I feel like I'm just always in my house doing things.
Perfect. Well, you're literally in a house in your latest promo for it.
I know.
Which I'm obsessed with.
That was so dumb.
I loved it. I love your creative promos. That's going to be my recommendation.
Okay, go on.
My recommendation is go onto Steph's Instagram if you haven't already, and she does these series of like lino prints and whatever called the sevens, and for each drop of the sevens, it's like a different theme that you do. So you do these like amazing promo videos where like one's really like floral and like you bite the head off a flower. And then one of them is the latest one. It's like you've cut out a cardboard house and you've put a head hole through it and you're wearing a house head.
I'm wearing a house head.
And it's just so, I don't know how do you do it? Is this TikTok? Do you edit them on TikTok? How do you make these? Can I make these?
You can make these. A lot of cardboard, a lot of desperation.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like the editing.
The editing was CapCut. It's all CapCut.
CapCut. Is that an app?
It's an app. It is one of the easier softwares I think to use for editing videos, and because they have.
This isn't an ad for CapCut.
No, but if you want to sponsor us, we'll take it.
We're not getting paid for this promo.
But I'm pretty sure TikTok and CapCut are affiliated.
Sisters.
Sisters.
Yeah.
So I use that. There's really good features on there for filters, and with the house one specifically, I shot on a white background, but I was able to remove the background so I could.
And then you've got this like ripped paper motif around you.
Yeah, that's all available.
How you do all this?
You
say it's easy, and then if I get CapCut and I don't make something like that instantly, I'm going to be like, nah. I can't do it.
You have to remember as well that I have been playing around with editing videos for so long now, like really since 2020, like on the TikTok. So it's like it's just a progression.
I wish I had the attention span.
I don't often. And then it will be like 3 a.m. and I'm like, must do this.
Yeah.
So it's all.
But they're so good and they're so creative. And I love that you're going this route for it because that is the type of content that I like to see. I'm not so much inclined to, say if an artist or a musician or someone who's trying to, not push something, but like kind of market their art.
Yeah.
If they're just like, talking about it face to camera, hey guys, it's what so-and-so, like this is my new, I love the fact that you're like taking a different direction and actually doing some promo in a creative way.
Yeah. It's what I would, in my mind, it's like, well, how would a creative agency think about this? Not just like I'm an artist.
Love promo videos. Like every time that there was a season of like, Drag Race or something come out, I would be so excited for the promo for it or Top Model or something like that. Something with like a creative edge to it, but also like a concept. I always really loved. I don't like that just like straight to social media, like I just like what you're doing.
Thank you.
I really like it. And I want to do it, but I'm not promoting anything. But I just want to make things of me dancing around to Blue Monday. How does it feel? And you're using really cool music as from our era. So.
Yes. And it's silly and I like it. And it's just one of those things where I guess I'd been doing the sevens for so long and then I was like, well, how do you bring something different? Because there's only 7.
Do you have any more to do? Or is this
I just do one every month. So see you at the next one.
Yeah. So by the time this comes out, there's probably going to be another one out besides the house. So
what will it be?
What will it be? Oh, it's like American Horror Story. What's the theme going to be?
Coven.
Ooh. You have done a coven one.
I have. I did a witchy one.
Where you blow a candle out in reverse. Oh, I just love it. I love that shit. So cool.
Oh, thank you.
I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass. Like I really that stuff I really, really like.
Yeah, it is. I think, it's hard to, it's interesting because that kind of thing doesn't get necessarily as much, I guess like engagement on social media. Yeah. I
don't get that. That doesn't make sense to me.
In my world, but I have found it really rewarding doing it. So I want to continue doing it. And
it's a creative outlet in its own, but like that's the kind of stuff that would engage me.
Yeah. I think also maybe people think it is a bit too, maybe they see it immediately and go, oh, it's an ad.
Maybe.
Like, but who knows?
You're wearing a house on your head and that would hold my attention for a few seconds.
Well,
and it did. Gore blimey.
Got ya.
Got me.
Got ya. Yeah, thank you.
But I did have another recommendation in mind, but then I was just like, no, I want to actually talk about
it.
And how you do it. CapCut.
CapCut.
So I'm going to get CapCut today.
Ooh, I can't wait to see you dancing in front of a wall.
I actually do I have to sell some of my art for the upcoming trip. So just to have a few, extra coins. So what I was thinking of doing is potentially like doing a full framed print of each of my prints, just the one.
Yeah.
Doing a little video of me like holding it up, being like, this one's available, it's ready to go.
Yeah.
Who wants it?
Yeah.
Melbourne fam. Like, who wants this? And hopefully someone's just like, I want that as it is.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I'll come pick it up or you can come drop it off. Is that a good idea?
Yes. Also, there's a lot of things with I'll send you a few, but like people have been getting big engagement on like the reveal of like turning it around and like they'll start with it and then they're like, ooh.
But maybe I'll do it in a concept way, like have something up behind me, have like music to it, have me like posing with it. I don't know. Should I be talking about this on camera about my like
how you were saying at this
sell stuff?
You know how you were saying at the start of the year you didn't want to say what you wanted to do this year
I
because
just want to do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think just do it.
Just do
You
it.
know what? What's the worst that can happen? It doesn't. Like the best thing that can happen is it does well, someone buys it. The worst thing that can happen is it doesn't and no one buys it, but they wouldn't have bought it anyway because you wouldn't have done it in, you know 100%. What I mean?
And it's not like I'm not doing it in I want to make money, me. I've got all these prints laying around that like I have taken it to like one of the markets, and the market that I went to wasn't the vibe for my art.
I've never done well in a market.
No. It was, I won't say the name of the markets, but yeah, I took all my prints there. But the people at the markets, you know, they're older people and stuff like that might not get the concept of my art.
Yeah.
So I've been like sitting with these pieces being like, how do I get these out? And I think the easiest thing for me, and also without having to print a whole bunch and have them sitting there trying to sell them, is to do like one frame, do a stock size, frame it myself. This is the one, first in, best dressed.
Yes, that's, create urgency.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. And I think something that I think about that how I sometimes come up with like concepts and things is I think about, you know, the John Waters of the world and stuff and how he was making stuff with his friends and it was a bit like underground, bit different. You know, how do you make that more modern and push it on a social?
Yeah.
So that's...
And if these go quickly, then I'm like, okay, people actually want my art.
Yeah.
Now I can start, you know, printing more off, sending them out so they're not just, you know, Melbourne based or anything like that. And then it can kind of start the ball rolling from there.
You can just... the worst that can happen is the same as if you didn't do anything at all. So why not do it? Yeah. Like it's just hard. I will say it does sometimes get hard and discouraging when nothing happens and you're like, I've been telling myself it's fine.
But I've got friends and stuff who have been in that same position. So I know that it's not just like a me thing.
Yeah.
And it happens to all artists.
Yeah. And also like truth, like peek behind the curtain, this month's sevens is not as successful as the last month's sevens. There are a few reasons why I know that probably is. And the first few days I just was like, don't talk to me about it. Don't want to think about it. Like, because I loved what I'd come up with. I liked the print. I liked the idea. I liked how it all turned out. And I was like, don't overanalyze that this month is smaller than the previous months because some things will hit and some things won't.
And you can't start tailoring your art to what you think people will like.
No.
Because then that takes your own self out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
The whole point of it being your art is it being your art. If you wanted to do that stuff that people like, you may as well start going around to like Kmart and Target, seeing what selling there and then just start copying that style.
Yeah, exactly. So
there's always going to be peaks and valleys in anything. What people are going to like or not, but you can't make changes to the way that you do your art depending on what people are liking or not.
Yeah, very true. There you go. Look at us having a little motivation session.
Well, I'm just like, and I'm look, the worst that can happen is I get stuck with like 10, 15 framed works of my own and then I'll just put them up on my walls if they don't sell. And our house will look pretty.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sorted.
Okay, cool. All right, I've got a mission.
Download cupcakes. Go. I think the point of this was going to eat a cupcake.
Yes. I'll download this program, try and do it in like 20 minutes and then call you and be like, Steph,
I'll give you a little example.
My computer's melting.
At the moment, one video, 130-second video takes about an hour to edit. So have fun.
That's fine. I've got an hour.
You've got an hour.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Have a glass of wine and sit down with my candles and get to it.
All right.
Well, that was my recommendation. I don't know. Do we have time for yours? Well, we talked about you.
Yeah, exactly. We talked about.
Let's do.
I'll keep mine brief and quick.
Yeah.
Last night we went to Fleetwood Mac and Cheese at Perez Square and it was so
To a festival for fucking anything these days.
Oh my God. But you know
Fleetwood
what?
mac and cheese.
Oh, it was so funny. So mac and cheese at the Param Market, they projected the Fleetwood Mac concert.
At the Param Market. That was around the corner from me.
I know you should have come, babes.
Should have. If I could have put on my shoes and come around the corner. I would have loved some mac and cheese.
I was running around after a 3-year-old, so
there was a child.
There was a child there. So it was there was a bar, there was this projection of the concert, and it went from like 7:30 till 8 or.
Was it busy?
It was relatively busy, not like heaving.
Yeah.
But I realized it was so much fun. I had a really good time, danced a little bit, ran around, and I was like, oh, these free events that your community puts on, go to them. Like, because otherwise they're going to stop happening. And it was just so nice. Like one lady was there by herself dancing away. And like at the end, she said goodbye to the people in front of her and was like, see you next time. Like it was so cute. Like
stolen a bunch of stuff from people's purses.
She's like, see you next time, dummies. But yeah, it was just like there was a bit of a community vibe. And I think that sometimes we get so in our own bubble.
Yeah.
It's just nice to go there. So that is my recommendation. See what's on in your community and go to these things because it was free.
Is it annual Fleetwood Mac and Cheese?
I hope so.
Let's
Bring
see.
it back.
Hope they do it they could do it every month.
They could do it every month.
I'd
be there. So yeah, my recommendation, Fleetwood Mac and Cheese.
Here you go again. What a freedom. What's your favorite mac and cheese? What's your favorite Fleetwood Mac song?
The Chain.
Okay.
What's yours?
Tusk.
Oh,
yeah.
In the concert that they played.
Tell me that you want me.
They brought out a whole marching band for that song. It was their encore.
I like it. It makes me want to like dance naked around a fire in the forest with like a bunch of nomads.
Yeah. The Chain for me is like one of my all-time favorites, especially when it goes dun, 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 and you're just like,
never break the chain.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Should we start?
Yeah, sure. Let's go.
All right, Joel. Let's jump into it. It's 2008, and in a sterile London lab, Dr. Nicholas Easter, I hope I'm pronouncing.
Very timely.
Yep.
Easter's about to happen.
Easter's about to happen. Is staring down a mystery. Machines hum around him. He's been examining a painting, The Red Picture with Horses. And while he has his suspicions, he's not the type to jump to conclusions. He's waiting on one final test. Then, ping, the results land. He leans in, reads once, reads again, and without missing a beat, grabs his phone. His heart pounds with every tone until he finally someone answers. You're right, he says. It's a fake.
Love a good fake art piece.
What Dr.
Red horses.
The red picture with horses. Ooh.
2008 Britney Spears Blackout came out.
Yep. What an album.
Yep.
What a time.
Great. Just to put people
in the vibe.
Yeah.
You know what? He was listening to Britney.
Bring people back there. Yeah.
When he was doing all his testing.
You want a piece of me.
What he doesn't know is he's just pulled the first thread in one of the most jaw-dropping art frauds of all time, and that a singular tube of white paint is about to unravel a $100 million empire.
My God.
So, Joel, today we're going to talk about a man who has a name that is just as strong as his ego. His name is Wolfgang Beltracchi.
I love the name Wolfgang.
Strong name.
Yeah. Wolfie. Don't tell me that you want me.
That's just going on in your head.
I'm hyper today. I've had these coffees are really kicking in.
So Wolfgang Beltracchi has a forgery career that would last over 30 years, earning him the name the Prince of Forgeries. So before we jump into this giant scam, let's take it back to where it all began. Wolfgang is 14 years old. He's sitting cross-legged on the floor of his father's studio, watching intently as his dad adds the final strokes to a painting. It's taking him just a week to finish. Impressive, sure, but Wolfgang tilts his head, squints and thinks, I could probably do it better. He's been watching his father paint for years. By day, the elder Beltracchi restores religious art for the local church. However, on the weekends, he packs up his canvases, heads to the local market where he sells in the styles of pieces of Van Gogh, Picasso, Matisse. Everyone knows they're not real, but that doesn't seem to bother the buyers. And then it happens. his father turns to him holding out a postcard. Here, he says, try copying this. Wolfgang doesn't hesitate. He grabs the card, pulls out a brush and gets to work. A few hours later, he calls his father over. The man peers down at the canvas. He doesn't say anything at first, he just stares. Then finally he says, you would have made Picasso proud.
So we've got little 14-year-old Wolfgang. His dad gives him a postcard that has art on it, and he's saying, make this. Okay, right.
And it was a painting that Picasso had done, so he's just done an exact copy.
Gotcha.
So what Wolfgang's father doesn't realize is that with this one little postcard, he's just lit a spark that would turn into a full-blown blaze that will burn through galleries, collectors, and $100 million slice of the art world. So this first started when he was 14, and he realized he had a bit of a knack for copying because his dad was doing the same thing.
Yep.
But the thing with his dad was selling them as, these aren't real Picassos. These aren't real Van Goghs.
Yeah.
The issue will arise when Wolfgang decides these are going to be real works.
Yep.
Here we go.
Yep. The dad's being upfront. Wolfgang wants to be sneaky.
Yeah. He doesn't go straight from being a 14-year-old to running $1 million empire. There is a lot of time in between. So it's the 1960s in Germany.
He's not Jojo Siwa.
He's not Jojo Siwa. So it's the 1960s Germany. He becomes a hippie, grows his hair long, rides a Harley Davidson. He goes traveling around Europe. He's living his best life. He does go to art school for a few years, but then he drops out.
Classic.
Yeah, he says, he actually said, it's like, I got bored of art school, dropping out. And I was like, sure thing. He spent nearly a decade just traveling around. He would paint casually, and then he kind of moves back and centers himself again at age 27. And he starts working on his own work. So at this point, he's not copying anyone. He sells 3 of his paintings for about 8,000 euros each. And then a gallery offers him a contract, but he turns it down. So what some galleries will do is they'll sign an artist, which, it's almost like exclusivity, and they'll show the artist's work. And he said, oh, that's nice. No, thank you. He starts to become a quote unquote like artist in his own right. But then he kind of goes, no, I want to make more money quicker.
Yeah.
And that's when it starts to spiral into the world of fakes.
Yeah, he doesn't like the back and forth and not knowing if his stuff will be in galleries or not. He wants to make a quick buck.
And also building an art career to where your name is recognized could take, decades, whereas he's just trying to make some quick cash.
Yeah.
All right, so then we go into the 80s. We're in the 80s in Germany. This is the beginning. So he's in his 30s. He started to copy some well-known painters. However, he didn't do the household names at first.
Okay.
Because he was like, well, Da Vinci, Picasso, they're pretty easy to work out if they're fake or not.
Yes.
So I'm going to do lesser-known modernists like Max Ernst, doing people who are known within the art world, but not like super well known.
Yeah, gotcha.
Not trying to rip off an Andy Warhol.
No, he's trying to rip off people that are still actively trying to work on their art careers. What a legend.
Yeah. So he isn't just painting copies of these pieces that were done by these people. What he starts to do is he starts to create new paintings. So this is similar to a case we talked about in our season 1.
It's ringing a bell.
Yeah, so there is a bit of a difference here, but
oh, I know the one.
Yeah.
The one how it was, you showed me those like 4 art pieces and you were like, which one of these isn't what's his name's? And he didn't quite get the like lighting and the finesse that right.
Yes.
But he was trying to pass it off as whoever that artist was.
Yeah. And the thing with Wolfgang is he is actually quite talented at copying the style of these artists' work. And what he does is he'll go through like a back catalogue of just say painter who was around in like 1910, let's say.
Yeah.
He'll go through their back catalogue, and sometimes what will happen is there'll be the name, there'll be all the paintings that we've found and provenance, that kind of thing. But they might be like, we know they painted this painting called Tulips, but we actually don't know where it is. We've got no photographic evidence of it, but we know it was painted.
Yeah.
So what he would do is he'd go, all right, Tulips is missing. I'm going to paint
tulips.
that.
Yeah.
So that's how he started to.
Because there's no real, paper trail or anything like that to say that it's not.
Yeah. So it's interesting that that's how
pretty clever.
It's pretty clever. And previous ones, what they do is they'd, add in a bit more provenance. He's just like, oh, I found that there's evidence. I'm going to just create the story and the artwork behind that evidence. So he created the missing works and he was really, really methodical. He didn't just research, because what made him so good at recreating these creating these artworks in the style of these artists is he'd read everything about the artist at the time.
Yeah.
Where they went, what they do. He was essentially just method acting as this artist, which was an interesting thing to do. But the problem that arose for him was that he needed to find a way to get it into the art market.
Yeah.
You can create all these pieces, but you need someone to be like,
the hard part.
yeah, who's going to be the art dealer?
Yeah.
So in 1985, he meets a man named Otto, who is a really serious, kind of buttoned up, well-known person in that art world. But so Wolfgang's a hippie, Otto's straight-laced. Otto becomes the front man of this operation and kind of goes, all right, Wolfgang, you go paint me these paintings. I'll take them to an art dealer and I'll get them sold because people trust me in this world, and that's an easy thing to kind of do.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that conversation went.
Otto. Just literally just picturing the bus driver from The Simpsons. My name's Otto. I love to get blotto.
That's exactly who you can picture for the whole rest of this episode. So yeah, he didn't have to prove himself. Otto was already well known in this art world. I'm just imagining now the guy from just a little painting holding it up. Like, ding. Together, the two of them began placing forged paintings into legitimate galleries and the money started to come in. But it wasn't the big bucks yet. They do that for a few years. So from 85 till about 92, it's just Wolfgang and Otto creating these pieces.
Yeah.
So it's 1992 and Wolfgang is walking toward a small restaurant. His palms are a little sweaty. It's not from nerves exactly.
There's vomit on his sweater already.
Mum's spaghetti. But he really wants this night to go well. He's been thinking about Helene for days. She's different from the flings he's had before. Smart, sharp-witted, unshakable, and at 33 with a cascade of blonde curls and a disarming sense of calm, she feels like something rare and something real. Maybe even his soulmate.
Oh, Helene.
Helene and Wolfgang. They settle into a quiet table, candles flickering between them, and for hours they talk, whispered laughter, long glances. But as the evening deepens, so too does the conversation. And that's when Wolfgang decides to tell her the truth. He lays it all out, the forged paintings, the fabricated backstories, and the quiet fortune that's slowly being made around this whole con. He waits. There's a moment of silence and Helene doesn't blink, doesn't flinch. She just picks up her wine glass, takes a slow sip and sets it back down. Then she starts offering suggestions, ideas, smart ones, way to improve the backstories.
Ooh, Helene's cool.
She's cool. I can imagine she's got like a little cigarette. Ways to improve the backstory, ways to make more money, where the next paintings could be placed. And just like that, Wolfgang realizes something. He might be falling in love, but it's more than that. He's just found his perfect partner in crime.
Yes, Wolfgang and Helene.
So, this is kind of where this con really starts to beef up.
Okay.
So it was kind of always making a little bit of money for both Otto and Wolfgang before, but Helene kind of comes in and she is all in. She was charmed. She is charming.
Yep.
You know, she's about it.
That's lucky for him.
I know.
That he's found someone who's also just like, yeah, you know what? I'm in. You son of a bitch, I'm in. Cool Helene.
They become really obsessive with the details. She's like, you know what, if you're going to take this to the next level and we're going to start copying bigger names and make more money, you need to be even better at what you're doing. What he would do in order to kind of fake these masterpieces is he'd go and he'd get old canvases from flea markets and he'd strip off the original paint and paint the new painting over the top.
Okay.
So that would mean that if they were testing the canvases, they wouldn't
be like, this is a new canvas.
Exactly.
Very smart.
I know. Also, interestingly, what he would do, which I kind of appreciate, is that he would paint some of these, what he'd call test paintings. He would then himself send them to send it to the lab. He would send it to the lab to get tested to see if it would come back as being like a of the time real painting. Whereas a lot of these previous forgers that we've talked about, they wouldn't do that. He's doing his due diligence, and if they came back and said, actually, this color red wouldn't have been used at the time, he'd adjust his palette accordingly, but they wouldn't know he was creating these fakes. It's just it's like him doing all of his like checklists of being like, yep, this will pass a test if it needs to, which is weird. I kind of like that.
It's very intricate.
Yeah.
I like it.
He's put a lot of effort into his forgeries. And then because of Helene, they decided to create this kind of fictional thread linking their fakes to Alfred Fleischmann, who was a real-life art collector who fled Germany during the rise of the Nazis because he was Jewish. So Fleischmann's actual collection had been seized or lost by the Nazis, which we talked about in episode 1 of this season around what the Nazis did. So Fleischmann actually was a real character who left all of his art behind when he left Germany. And coincidentally enough, Helene's grandfather had once lived next door to Fleischmann as a child.
That can't happen.
I know. What are the chances? She used this kind of slither of truth to make up this bigger lie that her grandfather used to like get given these paintings from Fleischmann before he left.
Oh.
And then
because it all kind of checks out, doesn't it?
Yeah. And so she'd be like, he took pity on this kid and he'd like sing for his supper and get a painting. And then she'd say, and then my grandfather hid these paintings in because he knew that they couldn't be seen by the Nazis because they'd been taken. And then now we've just discovered them and now we're going to sell them.
Yep.
So it's kind of like this.
And Fleischmann could back that up almost because.
Well, at this point, Fleischmann is dead. So he's gone.
Okay.
And so is Helene's grandfather.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
So she's made up this fictitious story with this slither of truth that everyone would know, but it's
so you can feel a bit better about telling this little lie because there's a little bit of truth.
And it chechecks out. They did at one point live next to each other. There's probably documentation around that.
Yes.
How intimately involved they were is up for debate. But yeah, they're both dead.
Yep.
So no one can check back in.
Okay, cool.
What Wolfgang also did is he created these little labels that he would attach to the back of his paintings with like it looks kind of like a lino print that had like almost like a signature of a Fleischmann's like seal on the back of a canvas.
Okay.
It was really strange. Yeah, it's weird he did this, but it was almost like they were like, well, these must be from his collection because he's signed.
Crossing his T's and dotting his I's.
Yeah, but it was also like.
Is it overkill?
Yeah, I think so. It's like being like, look, there's a sticker on the back. And all of these paintings have that, and it's very, very strange. In 1995, one forged painting, Girl with a Swan, was put on the market. And when asked for proof of provenance, Helene provided a yellowed photograph showing her grandmother sitting with the collection.
Okay.
Which went back to their story.
Put some tea bags on it.
Honestly, she just dressed up in costume.
Oh, it was
a picture of
Helene.
Her. She dressed up in costume.
She's having fun with this.
I think she's like a little bit of a theatre kid. She's like, let me put on the wig.
Yeah.
Any excuse.
I don't condone any of what they're doing, but
it's a bit of fun.
It's a bit of fun. It's a bit clever.
A bit funny. The photo obviously was completely fake, but it worked, and the painting sold for over $100,000.
Wow.
Which was one of their first massive, massive paydays. And then they started to really grow bolder, and they started to do bigger names, and by the mid to late 1990s, they were selling all of their fakes through Sotheby's and Christie's. All of these major auction houses were taking on board these paintings, which meant they were making more and more money.
Right.
Which is good for them.
Good for them.
Bad for everyone else.
Yes.
Then in 1998, so towards the end of the 90s, their operation almost collapsed. Someone kind of tipped the police off and said, I think there's some forgeries going on in this art world. I think you should be looking into Wolfgang and Helene.
People are getting a bit more privy. Yeah.
And so what they did is they immediately got out of Germany. They said, oh, the cops are after us? No, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So they left Germany and went and set up a space in France.
Okay.
And they kind of lived there through most of the 2000s. They bought a beautiful house there. They're starting to really make some coin. They got all that
dirty money.
They've got all this dirty money, and they're starting to make some coin. So he was selling these big paintings he was doing about 2 to 3 a year, but because they didn't want to look too sus that he was like pumping out.
Mm-hmm.
But he was selling, and they were starting to sell for, almost $1 million. Even Steve Martin bought one.
Australia's Steve Martin.
No.
Wait, no.
American.
I was thinking about the newsreader for some reason. Ray Martin.
No, Steve Martin, the comedian.
Yep.
But you know what,
Ray Martin.
Ray Martin.
Oh, I hope someone's told him.
I know. So even these celebrities. Ray Martin. An Australian icon.
Yes.
No, Steve Martin, unfortunately.
Yep.
So the money was flowing in. All of these collectors are buying these paintings, and they, Wolfgang started as this like down-to-earth hippie. He's now buying really nice property all over the world. He's traveling all over.
Wouldn't you just be nervous? Wouldn't you just have that like hovering over your head, what if?
Yeah, I guess so. If you've been getting away with it for 20 years.
Yeah.
You're kind of probably at this point like, nothing can stop me.
Yeah.
It's like Pam the bird.
I know. Yeah.
He just kept,
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Too well.
If they haven't caught me now.
Yeah.
And also you just get, I think with Wolfgang, his name, with Wolfgang especially, he's got a big ego and he gets bored. And so he's like, well, I'll just push it a little bit further.
Yeah.
Because I'm bored of where I'm currently at.
Yeah, I need a bit more of a thrill. Yeah.
It's the extreme, going to the extremes and then seeing if you can go even further than that. In 2006, a painting titled Red Picture with Horses sold for
Keeping us back to the start of the story.
Sold for a staggering $2.8 million.
Jinkies.
Now, it was very convincing. It was bold. It was beautiful. And it was by a lesser-known modernist artist of the 1910s. The buyer was really thrilled, but they wanted to be sure that they'd just invested their money in something that was worth it. So they started to dig a little deeper into the painting's provenance. Now, I'm going to say this up top. If you're about to spend $2.8 million, wouldn't you do that before you bought the painting?
I would just 100% make sure that it is legit.
But unfortunately, they did it after.
Yeah.
Anywho, they started to...
At least they did it.
Yeah.
At all. Yeah.
I guess they must have bought it and then had their suspicions after and been like...
Yeah, maybe people have come over to look at it and be like, oh, this is real?
Looks a bit strange. Not sure about this one. And he's like, God damn it, I've got to get it checked. So a few red flags. The strange label on the back of the canvas, supposedly from the collection of the framed art dealer, Alfred Fleischmann, was tested, and the glue used to attach it to the frame was new glue.
Oh, that was the one detail.
I know. Also, weirdly they were like, well, there's also coffee.
New coffee.
New as opposed
Macona.
to dipping it in the Macona. But he was like, oh, someone's used coffee to stain this piece of paper to make it look older.
It smells like coffee.
So they're starting.
The second detail he didn't think of.
He didn't think of it. And then they sent it away for even more testing. And that's when pigments of the paint were tested. Now, Wolfgang was actually pretty diligent in his palette. And I don't know why he did this, because he would have known that this paint wasn't used at the time. He did a lot of research into what paint was floating around at the time of when these artworks were created. So I don't know whether he just had a lapse in judgment.
You know what he should have put in that paint? Bit of mummy dust.
Throwback to the
mummy dust.
Oh, mummy dust.
Actually, this painting's actually 500,000 years old.
So it's actually worth more. No mummy dust, but the paint that really got him was titanium white, which is a pigment that didn't become widely available to artists until the mid-20th century. So because this painting was from the 1910s, that paint wouldn't have been used or existed.
That white didn't exist yet.
It didn't exist yet.
Wow.
So that was when Dr. Easter was kind of went, all right, this is a fake. There's no doubt about it. And so he started to put together all of his research to be able to go, all right, here you go.
Look at all his other ones.
Let's get him.
I just had a random thought. Could you imagine seeing a new primary color? Do you think your head would explode?
Maybe.
Like just a completely new color that has it that the eyes have never seen before. Not a mixture or a dark or a lighter shade of an existing color, just a new color. I'm not stoned, by the way. He's
had a lot of coffee.
I've thought about it before, and I'm like, could you imagine seeing a new color?
I wonder if your brain would. Like, what would you? I can't even imagine what that color could be.
You can't imagine what it would be.
And then I think my brain would implode a little bit. Would all of our? I wonder what it would be. I can't even think of it. You can't even think of it. It would have to be new.
It seems impossible.
It is probably.
Maybe there's another planet somewhere where there's a whole new color that exists.
That's what we should be looking for.
Yeah.
That new color. That would make.
Oh, you can't think about it too hard because it's like
disintegrate.
We've both passed away. Sorry. Continue.
So yeah, titanium white, no go. So once there's one fake painting, got to assume there might be more fake paintings out there.
Yeah.
So within 2 weeks, investigators had identified 15 fake paintings that were attributed to Wolfgang.
Uh-oh.
And panic started to sweep through the art market because all of these galleries, all of these collectors, auction houses were like trying to be like, no, we don't sell fakes here. Because the trust is starting to get broken, and these are reputable places where you assume if you're buying a Picasso, you're getting a Picasso.
And he's done heaps.
He's done. Also, some of these paintings that are sold, they're not just sold to private collectors, they're sold to galleries.
Yeah.
So some of these paintings in galleries, which we think about all the time, well, I think about a lot, is are we seeing the real
deal?
Yeah. It's not the gallery's fault.
It's not the gallery's fault, but then that goes to show they need to be, researching a bit more on and going into the finer details of what they're actually putting in their galleries to ensure that what you're seeing is the real deal.
Not only upgrade your security system, but please
make
sure that the paintings are real in the first place. Witnesses came forward, connections were made, and eventually Wolfgang, Helene, and Otto were all arrested. And while awaiting trial, they remained in custody. The art world, once charmed by these discoveries, was now humiliated because this wasn't just a clever scam. It was one of the most sophisticated and devastating cons in art history. So as well, with all of these paintings as well, we forget that these art dealers and people who are buying them, galleries, they want these paintings to exist. They want to, it's that whole thing of the Da Vinci, the fake, is it a real Da Vinci? Is it a fake Da Vinci.
Yeah, the Mundi.
The Mundi.
Yeah.
You want these paintings to exist because you're so excited and it's a new discovery and it's from these masters.
Yeah,
and
you almost don't want to hear the truth because you want to believe that what you're seeing is the real thing.
Yeah, you get swept up into these stories and, it makes it easier for these, fakes to kind of slip through the cracks because you are so excited for it. It's October 27th, 2011. The courtroom in Cologne is packed. The air is tense. The press is circling and Wolfgang Beltracchi is dressed in a dark suit with his signature long hair tied back. He waits to hear his fate. The judge clears his throat and begins to speak. Wolfgang Beltracchi, you are hereby convicted of the art, forgery and fraud. You will reimburse the 35 million euro you have stolen and you are sentenced to 8 years in prison.
How old is he at this point, do you reckon?
I think they're in their 60s at this point.
Okay. I mean, 8 years, nothing to throw. It's nothing to shake a sticker. It's still a fair chunk.
It's still a fair chunk of time.
But you can do that.
You can do that. It's the 35 million euros you got to reimburse that I'd be worried about.
Has he spent it?
Yeah, it doesn't exist anymore. Beside him, Helene receives 4 years in prison and Otto receives 5. So the punishment is pretty lax, I would say.
Yeah.
So it's also interesting. I think they cut a deal because they're rather just spending their whole time in prison, they're granted semi-open custody. So what happens is Wolfgang is allowed to, during the day, go to his house, have a good time, and then at night he must report back to prison.
That's a thing?
That's a thing.
So it'd be like minimum security prison.
Yeah.
You
probably got a bracelet on your little foot.
But you have to sleep at prison.
You've got to sleep in prison.
That's pretty lax.
It's like you got to check back in.
Yeah, it's like a hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get to go. So he was
prison-themed hotel, which there probably is in Japan.
Yeah. He's working from home during the day and then he's going back to prison at night. It seems like a lot of effort as well. Like
it does. You just stay at prison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting that was his.
Also, the other inmates would be jealous of him. So he
yeah.
Because he gets to do that.
I wonder if they're all just doing that though.
Maybe it's a special fancy boy prison.
Yeah. Fancy boy.
For fancy boys.
So the reason why I think they must have cut a deal is it was supposed to be like a really big trial that would last a really, really long time with 200 witnesses. The trial actually lasted less than 10 days and eventually he pled guilty, which is how he got his sentence. And only a couple of witnesses took the stand. I think as well what happened is because the art world was also somewhat on trial for this, in the sense of in the public's perception, that they probably wanted to shut it down really quickly.
Yeah, or else it gets too convoluted, intricate, too hard basket.
And people won't buy these pieces of art. And I think as well when like the public perception of this is Wolfgang and Helene are just Robin Hood, essentially, because they're stealing from rich people. They're not stealing from poor people. Does that make sense? So the perception of them in the public's eye is that they're a bit more like haha, like
they're making people feel silly. Rich people feel silly instead of ruining lives.
Yeah. So it's kind of a bit more of a crime of like people being like, oh yeah, I am rooting for the villain in the story.
Yep.
The trial ends very quickly. It makes a few headlines and it's interesting though, we realize that the scale of the con is actually a lot bigger than we think. To date, over 60 paintings have been uncovered, but Wolfgang has kind of estimated he's probably done 200 to 300 paintings.
Smokies. People would still have these thinking they're the real deal.
100%. So by 2015, Wolfgang and Helene are released. Wolfgang becomes more guarded with the press after this release. He kind of disappears a little bit and only does a few interviews where he can control the narrative. So he's very careful in what he does. He also stops painting forgeries.
Oh, well, good.
Yep. He does start painting his own work. his paintings can sell up to $12,000 each now. So if you want to buy a Wolfgang original, you can buy one for $12,000.
Like he's not allowed to charge more for it?
Nah, that's just kind of the going
that's
rate.
Just the going rate?
Yep. So
I mean, that's still pretty good.
Pretty good.
And then he's got a name.
Yeah.
He's got you've got that art from the controversial guy.
Yeah. And I think as well because he's so controlling in how he comes across with the press and everything, he gets to really sell his story to the public. So they'd be like, yeah, I do want one of those $12,000 paintings.
Him and Helene could do what that other artist did, the Real Fakes artist, get all the ones that he forged.
And then call them Real Fakes.
Do a gallery exhibition.
And sell them.
And see if people actually want to buy them.
And I reckon they probably
Unless
would.
they were made to destroy them, which I don't know if they would have or not.
And also at this point, I don't know, like
kind of just like own it at this point.
Yeah. Did he pay back that 35 million,
Yeah, we don't
25
know.
million euros? I hope so.
He got a pretty lax thing. They'll probably like, come on, please, can you please? Oh, it'd be really cool if you could pay that back.
It'd be nice if you could,
Yeah.
but we understand.
Or maybe they gave him like, it doesn't have to be all in one shebang, but like maybe the art that he's making goes towards.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
But he should put on an exhibition.
Yeah.
I reckon they'd be surprised how many people would want to buy kind of these forgeries that have been involved in this notorious case.
I think so. So yeah, that's the story. It seems like he's pretty proud of what he did. He doesn't seem to be too apologetic.
Yeah.
Apparently he once said, I never copied, I created the painting that they forgot to paint. I don't know what he's saying there, but he's having a bit of a laugh, I think.
Yeah.
He's having a bit of a lull.
I'm in two minds about it. I'm kind of like, yeah, that's kind of cool what he did because it's so intricate and thought about, and they really went to so much trouble to ensure that they could get these forgeries out. And you were saying that they were art pieces. Some of them or all of them were art pieces that were said existed, but no one knew where they were. So he created them again.
Yeah.
But then he's getting the, money and the notoriety for it. But yeah, I'm in kind of two minds. It's a shitty thing to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
It is it changes somewhat.
I'm not like these bastards, kill them.
Yeah. I'm not so like angry.
It just sounds like a movie.
Yeah. It does sound like a movie. But yeah, that's Wolfgang and Helene. They sound kind of cool, if I'm honest. Cool guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, they forged some paintings. I just can't believe that there's still some out there. And I often think,
I want to see one. I want to see the little thing. I want to see the thing on the back, the stamp.
The little stamp.
I want to. There's a part of me that has made me interested to see these works. Paintings.
Yeah, as opposed to that's the thing.
It's interesting.
The Mona Lisa wasn't famous until she was stolen. So it's kind of like all of these paintings, they get more notoriety, or the artists even get more notoriety because they're
something big happened around it.
Yeah, Wolfgang.
I love these kinds of ones.
Little con.
Yeah, I love a good con.
Love a con.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find an art cult that we can talk about, so then we can.
That's a good idea.
I know. Next time.
Art cults.
Art cults.
Love that.
Alrighty. Well.
That was a great little story.
Yes.
I really liked it.
If you're still around, make sure you leave us a comment or a review.
Yeah. Engage with us, please.
We want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
And see you on the next one.
See you on the flip side. Oh, ew. Why did they say that?
Goodbye.
Bye.